Today we are going to discuss a very important topic related to hard and soft skills of a sourcer. The competition for the best talent is extremely high, so professionalism is a key to success. So let's start with hard skills, that is the technical knowledge of a sourcer. And the first point is an understanding of the labor market. A professional sourcer is well versed in the labor market and can identify key trends in vacancies in various industries, analyze the match between the candidate's level of experience and his salary expectations, and select methods and approaches of candidate search that will be effective for a particular vacancy. For any vacancy, the main points you have to pay attention to are the candidate's experience level, salary, and location. For example, let's consider a vacancy of a senior Java developer with a search location of Ukraine, Europe, and the former CIS countries. Compensation for this position is from $3,000 to $3,500 per month gross. The first point I want to draw your attention to is that we do not consider citizens of Russia and Belarus for any of the vacancies on the HireOne platform, and this is always specified in the job description. The candidate's experience must meet the requirements specified in the job description. If the location of the candidate search is several countries, for example, Ukraine and Europe, we realize that the level of salaries for these countries will differ significantly. So, if you see that the vacancy budget is relatively small, it will be more effective to start searching for a candidate in countries with a lower income level, and then candidates will respond more often. Understanding the underlying technologies such as stacks and frameworks, which are must-haves for each vacancy, especially when we talk about the IT sector, is also very important. To create software, a website, or an application, a set of technologies and tools is used. This is the stack. For example, a typical web development stack includes 4 components: front-end, back-end, databases, and infrastructure. Front-end is the part of the software that the user sees and interacts with. It includes buttons, forms, text fields, images, menus, web application logic, and the appearance of the web page elements. The main programming language for front-end development is JavaScript, so most front-end frameworks are based on it. Let's take a look at the main framework that front-end developers work with. A framework is a set of code, libraries, rules, and standards for software development. In front-end development, the main frameworks are React.js is a JavaScript library for creating interfaces that allows to develop single-page applications. Vue.js is a progressive JavaScript framework for creating user interfaces and single-page applications. Angular is a complete framework for building web applications developed by Google. React Native and Flutter are the main frameworks in mobile development. Therefore, if you have chosen a front-end development vacancy to work with, the job description will contain requirements for one or more of these frameworks. Backend. Backend is the part of a web application that is responsible for server logic, data processing, database interaction, and providing functions that the end user doesn't see visually. A wide range of programming languages is used for backend development, namely Python, PHP, Ruby, C#, and Java. Java and JavaScript are 2 different programming languages that, despite their similar names, have completely different purposes. The Java programming language is mainly used for the development of server-side applications, mobile applications, especially for Android, while JavaScript is mostly used for front-end development of web pages and server-side application development. The main frameworks for back-end development include Node.js. It's a server-side JavaScript runtime that allows to run JavaScript outside of a web browser. Django. Django is a high-level Python web development framework that promotes rapid development and clean, pragmatic design. Flask. It's a Python web application framework that allows developers to create applications with a minimum amount of code. Ruby on Rails and Laravel are the most popular frameworks for web development in PHP. Let's move on. The third element of the stack is databases. Databases are a management system used to store and manage data. The main databases are MySQL, PostgreSQL, and MongoDB. And the last, fourth point of the stack is infrastructure. The term infrastructure means server platform and services such as Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Platform, or Microsoft Azure that provide cloud computing, storage, scaling, and other infrastructure capabilities. So, to work on vacancies in various industries, including the IT sector, you need to distinguish between the front end and back end, understand labor market trends as well as what outsourcing and outstaffing is. Outstaffing companies provide the client with specialists who remain officially employed by the outstaffing company but work on the client projects. The customer is responsible for the results, and the outstaffing company only regulates administrative issues. That is the main purpose of outstaffing, is to provide the client with qualified employees. As for the outsourcing companies, their purpose is to optimize, control, and efficiently conduct business processes. Clients turn to outsourcing companies to perform specific tasks and projects for various reasons. For example, to reduce the cost of production, maintenance, or product development. After all, outsourcing agencies can offer specialists or technologies at a relatively lower cost. Well, now we can move on to the soft skills of a professional sorcerer. The lion's share of a sorcerer's work is communication. Therefore, it's very important to learn the rules of high-quality communication with candidates. This will help create a positive impression of you and ensure the effectiveness of your work. The main three rules of communication with candidates are politeness, honesty, and giving feedback. Let's talk about them in more detail. Politeness. Start every contact with the candidate with a polite greeting. If the candidate is interested in your offer, thank him for his interest in the position and the time he spent talking to you. Also, say thank you every time the candidate answers your clarifying questions. Honesty. Try to provide the candidate with the most comprehensive information you have about the position. Think in advance what questions candidates may have about a particular vacancy and try to answer them by sending the candidate a connection message. For example, if the position is remote, does it involve an office format? Where is the office located? Is the salary indicated in gross or net? And so on. If the candidate asks questions that you cannot answer, please check with the Hire1 staff recruiter responsible for this vacancy. The description of each vacancy on the Hire1 platform contains the contact details of the responsible recruiter, or you can ask the clarifying questions community manager of the platform. The main thing is to provide the candidate with as much information as he or she wants to know. This is a sign of your professionalism and a great motivation for the candidate to move forward with the vacancy. The next point is providing feedback. For example, you have talked to a candidate, received his CV, conducted a CV screening, asked clarifying questions, and realized that unfortunately this candidate doesn't meet job requirements. Please do not leave the candidate without feedback. Be sure to inform the candidate of the refusal reason. Or, for example, if you have submitted the CV of the candidate to the Hire1 platform, please also inform the candidate. Leave a good impression of your work with all candidates. Try to answer the candidates' questions as soon as possible so that it doesn't seem like you are ignoring them. because very often a candidate who is not suitable for one vacancy today is the perfect match for the next vacancy you will work on. Maintain a friendly atmosphere of communication with all candidates. The next point is the ability to negotiate, to seek compromises between the expectations of the client and the candidate. It's common when clients revise certain points of the requirements when assessing the importance of the candidate's experience and skills for the company. So do not reject candidates if they have certain expectations or questions. Contact the Hire One staff recruiter responsible for a vacancy you work on with such a request, whether it is possible for the client to revise certain points. The next skill is effective time management. As far as to close a vacancy successfully, you need to allocate time and set tasks correctly. Sometimes it's better to start working on one vacancy and work on it efficiently, closing it, instead of choosing 7 vacancies and not being able to process all the candidates you wrote to. Therefore, select the number of vacancies, taking into account how much time you can devote to their quality processing. Another top skill of a sourcer is, of course, stress resistance. Sourcing is a rather dynamic field with many processes. It's not always possible to find the best candidates quickly, and it's worth understanding that candidates may be rejected for various reasons. Therefore, developed logic and the ability to build cause and effect relationships is another important soft skill of a sourcer. The main task is to build a profile of the candidate the client is looking based on the job description and conduct a search. If your candidate was rejected, you will definitely receive feedback on the reason. Please take it into account when looking for a new candidate for this vacancy. And finally, continuously improve your skills. Use new candidate search resources. Expand your knowledge. Try working on vacancies in different industries and generate new ideas. In conclusion, sourcing isn't just about communication. In fact, it's very important to have analytical skills, build cause and effect relationships, and understand the business. To become a professional sourcer, you need to improve both hard and soft skills, and the result won't be long in coming. And the Hire One team will provide you with all the support you need for your activity on the Hire One platform to be productive. And in the next video, we'll talk about how to choose a job or several jobs to work on the Hire One platform, how to analyze it, and create a profile of an ideal candidate. Thanks for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video.